Let me just introduce myself. Habib Rahman, I'm Chief Executive of Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants. And those of you who do not know our organizations, it's going on for 42 years, over 42 years. Originally, it was born out of, in 60s, late 60s, anti-racist movement. Some academics, lawyers, and some activists got together in a flat and established the organization, said we have to deal with our main concern should be immigration, nationality. In that time, asylum was not a big issue. Immigration and nationality issues of new immigrants, those who have arrived here. And you know, that time we were living in power like Britain, you know, all these predictions of the rivers of blood, you know. There are some blood dropped, you know, and this, the story the young woman wrote there is quite depicting that, but not those kind of rivers of blood happened. So we went on, I mean, since our birth, we have been concerned with immigration, nationality, asylum law and policies, and our main focus is on discrimination. Okay, so what we do, any kinds of discrimination we see in it, we respond to that, analyze it, and respond to that. So I wanted to say that first. I'm very pleased to be here because it brings back memories. I came here as an overseas student. So I understand the problems. I understand some of the problems people face here, that those people come from overseas to study here, because I kept on looking at it. In my time, it was, and giving away my age, it was a bit easier, but financially a bit easier. But now it's difficult. But I know that financially is very, very difficult for people. But the problems and the plight of the some people, being a student here and living here, I understand that. Now let me come to this session. We're talking about analyzing point-based system. But point-based system is quite wide. The government said we want to simplify the plethora of the layers of immigration system to control the migration from overseas countries to come to Britain. So they introduced a simplified system. But it is, we say it is simplified in a way because it said reduce the layers of control under the managed migration policies. But what they have done, I always jokingly say, and it's serious, they have introduced a system, a money-making machine. Whole idea behind it is economic. And they are, through this system, the whole points around that is how to make money, is an economical argument. And I'm always in, you know, when I think very deeply, because I've been working for this organization for a very long time now, then what is the tactics? And we discussed with my colleague and outside, how do you want to confront that? I have listened to you and previous speakers, and almost everything people were saying, I agree. But how best to confront this kind of thing? We are in a dichotomy, because the people in power and kind of democracy we live in, the majority or a proportion of majority, if I can explain that, forms the government, and they do whatever they like. Okay, and they introduce this kind of systems, and we have to abide by this system, and people suffer due to that. So the dichotomy is whether we say, I was listening to a friend from Open Borders, saying that we have to change paradigm in the whole thing. And so we have to go for the ultimate objective, that we have a world where there is no frontier and people can come in here. But I think that would not come unless we shift. Somebody was from there in question, or raising a question saying, that's my question, saying that, that we have to shift the public opinion because we live in a democracy. And to shift public opinion, one of the best way to do it, in the majority's interest what is taking place, and that argument to put forward. So that's why we go on saying that, and we are fighting against the negative media also, Daily Mail and Express and Sun and all these people, very powerful, you know, controlled by multinationals, and working in the interest of exploitation, multinationalist interest and capitalist interest for that matter. So what happens, what we have to do, we have to have simplified message to people saying that immigration has been and is and will be in globalized economy is good for our society. And in here, we live in Britain, here it is good for them. That message should be simplified and tell people that message. So sometimes it goes against the interest of overseas students because we say Tony Blair, echoing Tony Blair when he was Prime Minister in his last election immigration speech from Durban. I was in the television studio commenting on that, and he was saying, I remember, the overseas students brings £5 billion to contribute £5 billion to the British economy, and that was a plus point for Britain. Okay, and he was saying that we would not survive as a trading nation if we do not trade overseas, and we get 15 billion or something like that, big, huge amount, astronomical amount that we get from overseas business we do with those countries. And then he talked about overseas workers. And then recently, Alan Johnson, I was invited to hear his speech. Part of it was quite positive, I felt, and positive message came out because he was contradicting with his opposition, the Conservative Party. What he was saying, the 5 to 8 billion pounds students brings, one Japanese worker in Mitsubishi creates 79 jobs or 73 jobs, I've forgotten now, those kind of things. So the messaging is important. So if we want to shift public opinion, there is no way out. Of course, we have to in the layers say that racism, depicting the exploitation of people, depicting discrimination of people, the human side of it. Side by side, we bring the simple messaging. And the simple messaging will be that immigration is needed to survive in the world. So it is not just economic message. We can put also cultural message as a human race, the benefits we get from immigration. And I give one or two examples. You think about you know it, but I'm just saying it anyway. For example, you see, Gandhi was educated here, Mahatma Gandhi. Nehru was educated here. I'm talking about India. And then when you see what happened in India, the parliamentary democracy there, the leadership there, and underneath that, millions or thousands of people, students educated here, they went and they are running India now. And this relationship Britain has got with India, that is the layers we work with. Maybe some of them are very bitter relationship because also we know that if you treat people very badly, they will react. And Mahathir Mohamad of Malaysia, you think about it, every time he talks about Britain with disgust and detest, and he was educated here also. So how you treat these people, you understand, those kind of things. But the message I'm saying that internationally, that the benefits is bring for these overseas students and then is the cross-section of human race in the world. That's very important. And that message also should go to people. To this effect, what we are doing, and Brendan is here, my colleague, with his leadership, we are launching a campaign in the run-up to general election. And there's a simple messaging, I heart, I love migrants. That's the campaign. And there is a meeting tomorrow, is it fixed for 2 o'clock at JCWI's office, 115 Old Street. So I'm plugging that. So if you have time, you come down there and join that campaign. And that campaign will be giving positive messaging around immigration, including students and others. But don't think that we are not fighting for this, thank you, I'll be finishing in 1 minute, thank you. So, the other thing, just to plug something, the point-based system is simplified, but it is quite complicated. We are bringing out the plug our products again, that a book, very quickly, guide, which is on because if you look into our website, that one of the authority book on immigration and nationality law we bring out. It's a practitioner's Bible, they call it. They cannot practice without that. But we are bringing out on point-based system a guide. It's a different kind of book. It's not just a textbook on law itself. It will give ideas how to challenge certain parts of law that you were talking about in the previous session. So it will give you some clues how you can challenge in there. So I don't want to go into the detail of it in the constraints of the time, but I thought I make my point about that because messaging